Hello guys, welcome to Online Web Tutor presented by Preferred Sessions team. I am Sanjay. Inside this video session guys, we will discuss about inner join in MySQL. So if you go to the next tab, so in the last video, we had seen the complete concept about what basically joins are. Joins help retrieving data from two or more database tables. The tables are mutually related using primary key and the foreign keys concept. Also, we had discussed about that what are joins or how many types of joins we use in MySQL. So far we had seen about cross join in the last video. So inside this video we will discuss about inner join. So if you go to the next tab, so what basically MySQL inner join clause is. The inner join is used to return rows from both tables that satisfy the given condition. The inner join clause returns or joins two tables based on a condition which is known as a join predicate. The statement simply says that let's say that we have two tables like users table and the movies table. So by using inner join clause we will get about the same data of two tables when a join predicate means a condition should match. It means that while using our inner join in our MySQL query, we will provide a condition. On the behalf of that condition, if the value matches from one table to another table, so according to the same value of both two tables, we will get the rows of our applied query. So if we go to the MySQL, now this is our phpMyAdmin. So in the last video, we had seen about these two tables like TBL users and TBL movies. So if I open into a new tab, now this is our users table. Inside this users table we have 4 entries, and inside this movies table if you go at the top we have entries as movie 1, movie 1, movie 2 and movie 2, movie 3. This is all about user ID relationship, which is a primary key inside this users table. So in the last video, by using our cross join, we had seen that cross join is simply about the multiplication of two tables. It means that inside this table we have 4 rows and inside this table we have 4 rows. So total number of records actually we get about 4 into 4, that is 16 number of rows. It means each row of our first table means each row of the first table should contain or matches with each row of the second table. But in case of inner join, the first row, let's say that user ID and it goes with the first row but compare with a given condition, that is known as join predicate. So on the basis of user ID, it matches with the user ID 2 with the ID value of 1, so it does not matches, so it will not going to return the first row of this table. So in the same way it will not going to return about the second row. So while hitting the third record, when the user ID 1 matches with this ID 1, then it return about only for this third row. So let's see that how can we use inner join to get our data. So let's say that select simply let's say all from, and inside this we are going to pass the table name. So as we know that table users, and I am to pass the alias name user. What basically alias name is? Alias name is that in means table users also we can use with the another name. Suppose we are going to provide a condition. So while providing that condition, actually instead of using table users, also we can use user in place of table users. So let's say inner join. So here we have to write the join name. So inner join, and we are going to join with the TBL movies. And finally we need to provide the join predicate, means the condition on the behalf of that the two tables will compare values. So let's say on, and also I'm going to provide the alias name for this movies table. So let's say movies, and is on, simply let's say user.id equal to movie.user_id. So inside this query, simply the ID column is taken from this users table as we can see, and it's a primary key, but the same ID used inside this movie as the user ID. So we have written called movie.userid. So we are going to retrieve all the data. Let's say that from the users table, as well as we want to return all the data from movies table. So I'm going to run this query. So just hit Ctrl Enter. And if we go right here and we have some data, something unknown table movie, and this is because that here the alias name is something movies. So simply inside this query, this is all about the alias name, and the mistake was is that we have defined the alias name as movies, but we have used something movie here. So either make it as movies or simply let's use as movie simply. So now saving, if I press Ctrl Enter, now in the result, as we can see that on the behalf of matching condition or the joint predicate, actually we get the output. So as we go inside the tables, so the first row, as we can see that the ID 1, and when it matches with the user ID 1, then it will return about the first row, sorry, third row, because here user ID 1 is. Now in case of 2, when the user ID 2 comes and matches with the row of this table, then on the first row, that is ID 1, movie 1 and the user ID 2, so it matches with the second row of this table and it will return the result of that. So as we can see here that the ID 2 returns about the first row of the second table. So in the same way, the third row of users table return about the second row of the second table. So if we go inside the tables, so the third row contains about the user ID 3 and it returns about the second row which contains user ID 3. So simply we can see that, or we can simply say that on the behalf of joint predicate or the given condition, when this condition satisfies or matches, then on the behalf of that it will return the result set. Also, if suppose if I copy the query, open a new tab and pasting inside the SQL, and inside this query, let's see that we want only not all the attributes of two tables. We only want about the name, email and the movie name. So how can we write? So as we know that the name and the email is actually stored inside our users table. So user.name, user.something what we have, the column name we have called email. So simply let's email, and the movie table, so movie as alias name and something we have movie name. So if I press Ctrl Enter, now simply we had returned about the three attributes called name, email and the movie name. So this is guys the simplest use of inner join. Otherwise, if we want to provide some extra conditions, so go to SQL tab and let's see that as we know that this query returns about all the user details like 1, 2, 3 and 4. Now we want to see only the data of user ID 3. So how can we provide the condition? So as we know that this is return data of this query, so I am going to put where condition. So where user.id. As we know that from this query, the user.id should be equal to 3 because we want to retrieve the row 3 data. So user ID 3. So this is the provided condition, and remember this is inside where condition. So this is not the joint predicate. Joint predicate is something like what we have written inside this on condition. So if I press Ctrl Enter, now the result returns only about the third row data. So this is overall all the concept of inner join. So if we see about the explanation, So back to slide. So the inner join clauses compares each row from the first table with every row from the second table. So it basically means that the first table means each row like user 1, user 2, user 3 and the user 4. So the each record like user 1 will go for each record of this table like cross join what we had seen, but inside cross join we had no join predicate. So on the behalf of join predicate, when it goes with row 1, row 2, row 3, so it matches with this condition and it returns the compare result. So back to slide. So if values in both rows cause the join condition evaluates to true, it means the predicate value matches. The inner join clauses creates a new row whose column contains all column of the two rows from both tables and included this new row in the final result set. In other words, the inner join clause includes only rows whose value matches. Now here we have a question. Question is that what is the difference between cross join and the inner join? So cross join basically returns the result of cross multiplication of both two tables like table 1 and the table 2. But in case of inner join, it returns the data which basically matches with the join condition or the join predicate. So on the behalf of matched condition, it returns the data. So inside this video session guys, we have seen about the details of inner join in MySQL. So if you have any doubt, then please drop your comment. I will give my reply as soon as possible. So for this video session guys, thank you for watching and have a great day.